Hello, this is Mugetsu, and once again, we're back to Radical Dreamers to try and get, I think, the last endings. I'm not sure. I didn't want to give that certainty around Cat, but I think so. All right, this might be the final stream for Radical Dreamers, so let's go. I'm not sure if after unlocking all endings, we have to do the game again to get a good ending or what, because you saw that I did everything right, and we still call it the bad ending. All right. I think that we're down to the last ending. I mean, like the seventh ending in the list. So, do you have the info for the next ending, Roncat? I assume you're looking it up. After falling asleep, rush after Kid and Magil, then inspect the bookshelves. Okay, fall asleep. Well, let's see. Okay, let me check the map quickly. I still have the map saved. All right, so from the terrace. Okay, I got it. Not even. And I already got a random fight, goddammit. Well, happy early birthday, Round Cat. Do you have any special requests for your birthday? Or you're not gonna be here because you're gonna be celebrating? 1 year closer to the Grim Reaper. God damn it. Secret of Evermore. Sure, just remind me what platform is it on? Is it like emulation, Steam, Switch? Where do I get the game? And I assume it has online. If it's late at night, I'll be here. Well, yeah, we can do that. Super Nintendo? Alright. Yeah, we can work with that. God damn it. Oh, damn. I can totally hear kids saying that. Huh? Link's got freaking Death Note. Uh, you know what? I'll snatch the book. An image of kid blood in war domination with Lilith as her right hand goddess flashed through my mind. I mean, she essentially got the Death Note with a few extra steps. Okay, this is like the second or third time that Magil was secretly someone else. But that music really slaps. Kid was probably gonna write Harley the book. Or Korcha. I mean, that is a little hard. For Haru, I understand. I mean, she's actually a monster after all. Seriously, Kid is the kind of person that you regret saving. I don't know how Sir simped so hard for her. Lena was better. This just proves it. Same reason Rama does things for Akane. So, bad writing. Damn, Serge is alone in this ending. Okay, that was way short. All right, let's see. Okay, with that, we have all 7 extra endings. I'm not sure if the good ending unlocks after this one or if that's it. Just in case, I'm gonna save this. And let's see if there is any difference. This one only took 20 minutes to get. Yeah. Uh, hmm. Okay, you know what? Before I get into doing the full playthrough, let me just look up if there is actually any difference to the endings. I mean, if there is the good ending, as you told me. You've upgraded all of Santa's reindeer to Rudolph's. Well, that's neat. All right, let me just check because the pages that I've seen and some of the ones that you gave me, they only imply that there are 7 endings. I mean, the ordinary ending and alternate 7 alternate ones. Endings. Okay, there is a remaster exclusive ending. Okay, let's actually check this. That's after you beat Chrono Cross. I mean, I already have, so in that case, let me. Okay, I'm just gonna get back into the initial screen. And okay, apparently this is the 8th ending. Okay, where is the option for the credits? Hold on, hold on. Okay, never mind. I think uh, it's the credits. Okay, hold on. I actually need to add the visual for this. Okay, we're gonna have to watch the credits. And get the final ending, as far as I know. Now that you've seen all endings, how would you rate Radical Dreamers out of 10? Huh. That's a good question. And the thing is, okay, the Chrono franchise branching off into a visual novel is a little strange, but they largely made it work. And at least here we have Magus compared to Chrono Cross, where there is not a single actual character from Chrono Trigger in playable fashion. But also, you know what? I do have probably a slight bias towards Super Nintendo because the music and even the graphics are just good in a way that I'm not sure I can explain. I really like the Super Nintendo aesthetic and the sounds. It truly is the golden age of gaming for me, so I'm inclined to give it either an 8 or 9 out of 10. Better than Chrono Cross for sure. Probably the only thing is that it's a little bit confusing and tedious when you do the normal gameplay, so that's probably what lessens the points. But it's a pretty solid game. And I mean, If you like the story from Chrono Trigger, yeah, this is good. The only problem also is that, as you said, you basically have to play Chrono Cross to get here, and I'm not sure how many people want to put themselves through that because, yeah, Chrono Cross is something else. Guile, maybe Magus, I know, but they kind of scrapped that idea. How would you rate Chrono Cross out of 10? Yeah, that is exactly the thing. I can't give Chrono Cross much of a score. If I'm giving Radical Dreamers an 8 out of 10, I think I'm giving sorry. If I'm giving Radical Dreamers an 8 out of 10, I think Chrono Cross gets a 6 out of 10. Also, for context, I don't know about the US, but in Mexico, a 6 out of 10 is a passing grade. So it's barely passing. So Chrono Cross getting a 6 out of 10, it's like it barely passes. You know, it's not an entire disaster, but it borderline is. And pretty much like 5 of the 6 points it gets are because of its connection to Chrono Trigger, and not because of Chrono Cross being a good game in its own right. So, yeah. I think that's my rating. The only reason Chrono Trigger is remotely tolerable is because the story of Chrono Trigger was that good. That's just it. You want to see more of Chrono Trigger, and you slug through all the hell that Chrono Cross puts you through. You find some gems, but the gameplay is quirky, confusing, kind of tedious at times, and yeah. It's kind of a shame. You know, Chrono Trigger was such an amazing game, and Chrono Cross just couldn't live up to the standard. Which I guess is kind of the same thing that happened to Mega Man X. You know, Mega Man X once set the bar too high, and none of the sequels managed to top it. I mean, X2 is a very good game. X3, I also think it's a good game, even though the criticisms seem to be more unfavorable. X4, I think it's a little overrated. X5, it's hated, but I liked it. But X1, I think the level that achieved, the sequel simply couldn't live up to that. So I think it's more or less the same case here. Chrono Cross couldn't match the hype that Chrono Trigger built up. Trying to make it so different came at a cost. All right, here we have the ending. I would say, Roundcat, Chrono Cross would be a better game if it wasn't connected to Trigger and if it was more polished. Because it still suffers from bad design and, you know, confusing gameplay. I mean, yes, it has potential. I see your point. But in its current state, no. I said it before. I don't think Chrono Cross really gets to stand on its own two legs. If it's not for the connection to Chrono Trigger, the game kind of falls apart. If it were developed as an independent concept, yes, maybe we could see something much better. But in its current state, no. Yes, exactly, but I am still not entirely content with the way the game was designed and stuff. So if it was a little bit more polished and it was a game in its own right, instead of a Trigger sequel, yes. But these are hypotheticals. Damn. Wait, did that? Yeah, damn it! I wanted to take a screenshot. Was that it? Okay, let me check if that was the final phrase. What's eternity? Wait. Damn, this was a big nothing. It didn't register. Okay, hold on. Let me just double check. Okay, let me just check the wiki, the eighth ending. What's eternity compared to this moment in time? Okay, yes, that was it. Yeah. All right. Damn, this was faster than I thought. Mm. Now, the only question that remains is, can I actually get the good variant of the first ending? Because the walkthrough suggests that there is a good ending and a bad ending, and the two times I tried, I got the bad ending. I think that ending confirms that Gael is indeed Magus. It seems also kind of curious that Magus ended up seeming to be like the protagonist of the Chrono franchise, even though, Chrono is called after Chrono. But I mean, yes, Magus became an important character in his own right. Huh. You know what? There was a reason I wasn't calling this the final stream because I want to look into it. I might do one more attempt at the good first ending and then call it quits with Radical Dreamer. So we're gonna see about that. I'm gonna try to look into it, gonna try to find information, and if there is nothing else I can do, I'll leave it there and try to move on to another game. But if not, I will make. I will do another playthrough. Chrono became the Krillin of the series. Chrono died though twice. God damn it. But I mean, Chrono was way more useful than Krillin. Come on. Krillin's usefulness pretty much ended in the Saiyan saga because in the Namek saga he was a punching bag. And let's not even talk about the Android, Cell, or Boo sagas. Yeah, Krillin became obsolete way fast. At least Chrono had one game to be the protagonist and have some glory. Krillin, not even close. I know, poor Krillin, but Dragon Ball really became discriminatory against non Saiyans. Anyone who's not a Saiyan became irrelevant. All right. Well, Krillin still managed to beat Gohan in their spar, though. I mean, yeah, but even Gohan was kind of weak by the time they got to Namek. I know they got their potential unlocked and they got a power up. They could kind of fight against the Ginyu Force, but I think that was more or less about the end of their usefulness. I know that Gohan got some good hits on like third form Frieza, but again, that was kind of it. But Gohan is at least a half Saiyan, and he would later get his arc with Cell, the Super Saiyan 2 and stuff. Only to fall off after. But Krillin's relevance pretty much died. The Sparring Super, Master Roshi became relevant again. Yeah, I know. It's just that the power scaling becomes inconsistent in Super. It's weird because how the hell Krillin or Master Roshi get on like Super Saiyan level? I would actually understand Yamcha, Tenshinhan, assuming that they didn't stop training because I know that they trained with King Kai and they were getting like at Guinea Force level. So if they kept training, okay, maybe they can get to like Super Saiyan 1 level. When Krillin beat Gohan by stunning him with his solar flare and knocking him into the water. Okay, well, that's a little trickier, but I guess. Okay, he still has some ways. Also, technically, the Kian San is supposed to be able to cut like anything or most things except Cell. So if he blinded his enemy and then uses the Kian San, I guess he could score a win. Krillin also was able to push back Super Saiyan Blue Goku's beam back. I know it happened. I know it's canon, but I still find that so damn questionable. How the hell is a human remotely on a level to be able to push back Super Saiyan Blue stuff? What the hell? But I know. At least, well, I guess Krillin has his moment. But in any case, Krillin was never the protagonist. In terms of Chrono, in the Chrono franchise, Chrono was the protagonist of the first game, and then the franchise did away with him because he doesn't appear in Radical Dreamers, and he basically died in Chrono Cross. Actually, his death, his second death is more undignified than Krillin's, if you think about it. Well, Anime Super isn't canon anymore since it contradicts the manga so much, and the manga is still going. Huh. Now that's something I never thought I would hear. The Super anime isn't even canon? So all that flexing over GT was for nothing? You know what? I'll take GT over Super. I just like it better. The Super Saiyan 4 feels like a better evolution of Saiyan power than the freaking God shenanigans. I'm sorry. Super Saiyan 4 feels like the true pinnacle of Saiyan power. Chrono died in two timelines. Yes, I know. I mean, technically, he died in the canon timeline too, but he was revived, and then he died in Chrono Cross. Another world Chrono died to Dalton. Home world Chrono died to Laos. Yes, yeah, those. Damn. You know, it's a shame because I know that another Chrono game is not likely, but I really would like to see a true Chrono Trigger 2. I don't even care if they decanonize Chrono Cross because at this point, who's gonna defend Chrono Cross? The super manga is can Chronos died to Lavos Chrono died to Lavos twice. Damn. Well, well, let's see what happens in the future. You know, I still have a sliver of optimism that maybe, just maybe, someone will want to revive the Chrono franchise. And I just hope it's not too late. That there's at least some of the people who did the original project. Because if there's no one left, it's gonna be entirely soulless. I wonder if there are fan games about the Chrono franchise because I think Chrono Trigger should have spawned some fan games. Maybe I need to look into that. I think Square cares for Cross more than Trigger since they license the characters out more like in that mobile game. I mean, yes, but it's really the wrong game. They should care more about Trigger. Even to this date, I think Chrono Trigger has been ranked high in like the best games of all time. And this is like a 30-year-old game at this point. And it still holds up against games that are hundreds of times more advanced on technical aspects. So that tells you something. The quality of this game transcends technical specs. So I would say they are underrating Chrono Trigger themselves. You never see Chrono Trigger characters make cameos except Balthazar and Luca in Xenogears. Mm, yeah, I know. But let's not pretend that companies make the best decisions or even reasonable decisions. You know, considering the whole fiasco with Mega Man, yeah, we can tell that companies just care about like shallow profits, not even long term. They just want a quick buck, and that's it. So I'm not really trusting of their judgment. A new sequel could be a monkey's paw. Well, you know what? In that case, I guess if it's gonna be more Chrono Cross slop, yeah, just let the franchise die. When they want to revive it, I hope it's something more along the lines of Chrono Trigger. Chrono Cross needs to stay dead. They do want long term money through DLC. I mean, if they made a good game, the DLC wouldn't be, it would be worth it. I mean, I know this has nothing to do with this technically, but Pokemon Scarlet, the DLC was good. I'm not gonna say it's perfect, but it was good. It was a lot of content, more Pokemons, a story in its own right. That's the kind of DLC I don't mind paying for. But not DLC that is just like a cosmetic effect or something that has no relevance on the story. If you're gonna add DLC, make it actual DLC, like an additional episode or something to extend the campaign, the gameplay, or whatever. But yeah, Things thing is the Chrono characters are alive and well, and the Trigger characters aren't. Well, I would say others have the power of retconning. This is one of the times where it can be used for good. Most of the times, retcons are bullshit, but this is one of the few instances where it would be good. You know what? Chrono Cross didn't happen, or it happened in another universe. Here is a sequel to Chrono Trigger. It sounds silly, but it would be so easy. And if you work off that premise, then you can do just whatever the hell you want. Because as long as the execution is good, the silliness of the core premise doesn't matter. As long as you execute your concept well and the game is made well, it's not gonna matter if it kind of forces itself. Except Dalton, he's living the dream. Yeah, Dalton needs to face his comeuppance because he didn't get it in the first game. I want to see that bastard burn in hell. Well, you know what? If the company doesn't do it, maybe some fans will do it. So I can only hope. Because at this point, I don't think we can really trust on companies much. If anyone is gonna do something good, it's probably gonna be the fans. I think the problem is that the DS extras in Trigger heavily connected to Cross, so it's hard to split them now. I mean, you could just ignore. I mean, like I said, you could make a game that follows directly after Trigger with some mention that the events in Cross are an alternate timeline, which is more or less their own explanation for the thing. Is it really that hard? I don't think it is. It's only having the will to make it happen. Because if no one wants to put in the work, then all of this is meaningless. There has to be the will to make it happen, the will to make it work. As long as we don't have those, everything else is going to be pointless. But that is just my opinion. It's not like I'm an expert or anything. I'm just someone who enjoyed the content and I would like to see more. But also, I don't want to see more Chrono Cross. Like how Los Sanctum becomes Terra Tower and how Chrono and Co. do go to Chronopolis in the Vortex. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could reference stuff about Chrono Cross, but I mean, it's like 20 years before Surge is born. So you can really have him make a cameo. Unless you have the crossing timelines. And maybe he appears as a warrior from another timeline. And you fight him, like a sparring match. And, like a secret boss, I guess. And you see Kid in the anime. Yeah. The child that ruined Luca's life. The child. All right. And the secret boss is basically the same as the final boss in Kuros. Well, yeah. Surge is supposed to be stronger than Chrono, though. Yeah, but Chrono wouldn't be fighting alone. Chrono would be fighting with his entire team. You're gonna tell me that Surge is powerful enough to take down the entire cast of Chrono Trigger? At their peak? I'm not sure. One on one? Maybe? But the whole team against him? I don't think so. He actually beat Lavos and Lynx. But also, Serge wasn't fighting alone. He had his own team. So I can't give him the full credit. He had help. Chrono had help. So that means individually they might not be as powerful. Collectively, yes. But maybe this could be interesting if we do like matchups between the Chrono Cross and the Chrono Trigger members. Maybe with the Master Moon, he might be okay. If you give Serge the Master Moon, you have to give Chrono the Dream Seeker, and then we see. And also the other characters with their best weapons. Because that would be fair. If you're gonna give Serge his ultimate weapon, also give Chrono his ultimate weapon. Yeah, I know. But I mean, they have gotten stronger since. Dreamseeker isn't canon though, since it's a reward from the secret ending. I mean, yeah, but the Master Mune is missable, so it's not like you get it. It's not mandatory to get it in the story, so it a similar argument can be made. Serge might not necessarily pick up the Master Mune. That is my logic. If Serge gets to pick the Master Mune, Chrono gets to pick the Dream Seeker. Because it's the optional weapon, but it's the strongest one they have access to. Because if you're gonna give Serge the Master Mune and leave Chrono with whatever, then obviously this is biased. Chrono lost to Dalton in canon with the normal Masamune. I don't think Chrono was even wielding the Masamune because Frog had it. When Master Moon is probably canon because you use it to save kid. Mm. I'm not sure. But also, yeah, in Chrono Trigger, Chrono wasn't using the Masamune. Come on. Frog was the one using it. Dalton was wielding the Masamune. Okay. Yeah. Well, I see the point, but you know what? I'm still thinking that if we're talking about this hypothetical game, if Chrono keeps getting stronger and fighting more enemies, and provided he finds a canon way to get the Dream Seeker or an equivalent sword, then the matchup against Surge might not be as lopsided as you suggest. But obviously, that is all work that they would need to put in this hypothetical Chrono Trigger 2. Frog went back in time, died of old age, and Dalton took the Masamune from his grave. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. You know what? Like the meme says, nothing ever happens. So I don't think Square is in a rush to revive it, especially when they can keep milking Final Fantasy for the millionth time. Yeah, but who knows? Maybe one day someone will surprise us. At least I hope so. And if it's not the company, the fans. I hope at least some fans come together and do something. I mean, a fun game to honor the memory of Chrono Trigger. If the Master Monet drains magic like how Dalton did to Chrono, it would really tip the favor in Surge's. Uh, you're just gonna have Surge win no matter what, aren't you? You know what? That is also kind of a thing. Surge really feels like a Martis too. Because Chrono, was the protagonist, but he was not like the invincible guy. And Surge is basically the chosen one, the child of destiny. But it doesn't feel like he earned it. I played the game twice, and it really doesn't feel like Surge really deserves the hype he gets. The chosen one, the child of prophecy. But some characters can live up to the expectation, but I don't think Surge is one such case. I don't think he really matches the hype that you would expect. I don't feel like he earns the right to be that powerful. Fans will still be making Chrono Hentai for decades to come. That's a sentence I didn't need to see, but okay. I was hoping more for fan games and stuff, but I guess people will express their artistry in whatever way they want. I guess we can't really judge. The best thing one can do is just not engage and partake into what you don't like and just let it be. Serge got body swapped and managed to get the job done even without his chosen one body. Okay, kinda getting there, but I still feel like I mean I guess maybe because the game is kinda rushed. It doesn't fully polish the concept, but I still feel like Chrono doesn't exactly earn. I mean, I know that he did stuff. He went through a lot of stuff. But even then, I'm not entirely convinced that he really earned to be that much more powerful. To get to be the one to succeed where Chrono and Gang failed. It doesn't seem like he's really that much better than them. Not even Goku could do that when he got body swapped. Okay, but if you want to get there, Zero also achieved a lot of things with a fake body. So if we're gonna equate protagonists from other franchises, there is Zero. Zero with a fake body defeated Omega. Zero with a fake body defeated Dr. Whale and saved the Earth from Ragnarok. So Ceres is not alone on that regard. And at least Zero is a more polished protagonist in that aspect. I'm sorry about Serge, but Zero does actually earn those feats. It was a copy body though, so it was familiar enough. Yeah, but there is the implication that it was, a lesser quality, cheap body. It wasn't like a well intentioned replica. It was supposed to be like a placeholder, just a basic body for him to move around in, and not exactly a proper match to the absolute war machine that Zero was designed to be. It's a massive downgrade from his original body to the garbage he got in Zero. Surge got put in a big cat. And you could also make the argument that technically Link's body was stronger than Surge's. I mean, he went from being a kid to being a Panther man, kinda. Okay, that is a more valid point. He lost his party. He had to remake it. Okay, that is at least taking the steps in the right direction towards becoming a hero. I'm not saying that Serge doesn't deserve to be a hero. I just say he doesn't feel all that much like he deserves to be the one to finish the Chrono franchise business. I feel like they did away with Chrono and Cole way too easily and without much of a chance for them to do anything else outside of their first game, just to force Surge into place. That is more or less my complaint. Maybe again, like I said, maybe if the game was more developed and a bit longer, they could have worked out the concepts better. But as it is now, it still feels kind of forced in some ways. Zero's copy body is actually said to be potentially be as powerful as his old body. Huh. Okay, I'm gonna have to need to check on that because the few times I saw Zero's copy body being talked about, they always implied it was a low quality cheap copy. And I mean, considering how dangerous Zero could be, I guess it makes sense to give him a weak body in case he goes out of control. But that also means his fighting in Omega was kind of unfair. It was always the intention to have a new standalone protagonist for the Chrono Trigger sequel. I know, and I'm saying that is the pivotal point where everything goes wrong. Because what the hell kind of game does away with the protagonists like that? Or even anime, movies, series. I don't really think many franchises get to just get rid of the original cast and somehow bring in new protagonists and pretend that it's gonna be better than the original. I know it was always the intention, and I'm saying that intention was wrong. Zero's copy body was made by CL's grandmother, who was studying Zero Surge's body for years. Wait, really? I don't recall them saying that in the games. There is a Mega Man Zero fan game where they did imply that an ancestor of Seals made the copy body, but it's a fan game, so it's not like you can consider that full canon. But I mean, I am familiar with the idea at least. Even in Radical Dreamers, they had the link skills look plot point. Yes, I know. But at least in this game, they don't really tell you what happened with Chrono and Co. Though I guess the fact that Maggie is alone is kind of telling. Yeah, in the drama series. I'm gonna have to look up and see if there are like videos with subtitles because I know of the drama series existence, but I have never really listened to them because at least when I looked, they were entirely in Japanese and there were no subtitles, so I can't understand what the hell they're saying. But it's been years. It's been many years since I have tried again. Yeah, maybe I need to look into that. All right. Well, I think that was plenty of rambling for one stream that wasn't even supposed to be about rambling. So, let me think. I'm not entirely sure. I can try to have, Terror Thursday tomorrow and watch more spooky stuff. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to stream anything on Friday. I might try to check with DC and Uganda if they want to do more Castle Crashers. But if not, I'm just taking the day off because I still need to catch up on work and stuff. As for Saturday, there's gonna be the Mega Man X Story tournament, and presumably after that is done, depending on when it's finished, we can have spooky episodes if it's not too late. And the same goes for Sunday because I think that the tournament probably will take 2 days. That was the main drive of making a sequel to Trigger, of showing how altering time has its consequences, like in Lucas' letter to kids, where she feels regret for erasing the bad future. I mean, yes, that idea could have been good, but okay, I found a good way to express it, Roncat. The problem I have with Chrono Cross is that they entirely remove the original character's agency. If you wanted to show this, why not have the original cast be actually playable and actually see the tragedy unfold instead of just being told about it? Like you play the first part of the campaign with the original cast, and disaster happens as they try to fight back and not let their world fall into ruin, but they inevitably lose. And then they present us with Serge as the new hero, a new hope. With that context, I think Serge would have been much better introduced as the chosen one, the promised hero, because we actually saw how hard the others fought and failed. The problem is that Chrono Cross presented it, they removed their agency, and it's just like, oh yeah, they're dead. Now you have to play with these guys. It's kind of half-assed, if you ask me. Yes, more Are You Afraid of the Dark? Sunday is Mega Gyarados Day, though. I think they didn't want to do that because Cross was another system from Nintendo. Well, who knows? But I would have really liked that approach. Have the first part of the game with the original cast, fight back against the consequences of unfolding, and then when you actually see that they cannot stop it, no matter what they try, but they actually try in game, and you try as a player, and then when they fail, and the game presents you with the hope in the form of Surge, that would have been a much better introduction because in Chrono Cross, Surge is just a random kid that ends up becoming the chosen one. So people who don't buy Nintendo systems would have no idea what's going on if you start like that. I mean, but that is the point of a sequel. It has a connection with the previous game. You can't entirely do away with the first game if you want a sequel. If you want to do what you're describing, you're just doing a spin-off. But if you want to have a sequel proper, you need an actual connection to the game, not just in the form of info dumping, because that is what Chrono Cross did, and I don't agree with that approach. Sunday is Mega Gyro's day. Okay, in that case, you know what? I'm just gonna stream the Mega Man XOD tournament for the weekend, and that's gonna be it. After that, we'll try to return to the usual schedule. Now that September is coming, I'm gonna try to normalize my streaming schedule once more, and we're gonna try to return to the regular weekly segments and stuff. I still cannot entirely guarantee it that it's gonna be able. I mean that it can happen on the first week, but I will give it a serious try. That's why it's called Cross and not Trigger 2. Exactly. Also, my point. I really would have wanted Chrono Trigger 2 and not really Chrono Cross. I'm sorry, but Chrono Cross should have been a spin off in the way that it's presented. It should have been a spin off. Chrono Trigger deserved a proper sequel. I'm gonna die on that hill if I must. Chrono Trigger deserved a sequel, a proper sequel, and not Cross. Cross almost feels like a sequel in name only. And only in the late part of the game, it kinda picks up the mantle. Yeah, I know. I mean, Roncat, you know that I used to be able to start my streams earlier, but with the situation right now, it's usually not possible because I have to go and take care of my grandma and do stuff. So that's why I have been holding off. But I'm gonna try. But you know what? I'm also not gonna overdo it because if I hurt myself from overexerting, it's gonna be worse. So yeah, I'm gonna be mindful. All right. Well, we're gonna leave it here. Thank you so much for sticking around. And we're gonna try to have the spooky stream tomorrow. I'm not sure what's gonna happen on Friday, and then the weekend is gonna be the Mega Man XOD tournament. And after that, I'm gonna make an attempt at returning to the routine. It's not guaranteed, so it's just the best I can give you. With Cross, though, they wanted to show the world and people outside of Chronos knowledge. Again, that feels like a spin off more than a sequel proper. A sequel should expand upon the original, not discard the original. That is my idea. All right. Well, and focus on the point of one person being important to the world. I mean, it could have been done better, but I get what you're saying. All right. Well, now you know the plans. So I'm gonna try to make them happen. So thank you so much for sticking around. And that's gonna be it for tonight. So hopefully tomorrow we continue with the spooky episodes. And whatever happens, at the very least, I will do the Mega Man XOD tournament on the weekend. Have a good night, Brown Cat. And for anyone else watching, whatever it is in your time zone, have a good one. And hopefully see you next time.